You may have heard there's been ongoing riots, but not Black Lives Matter, not Antifa. This time, the riots are taking place in Spring Break, Miami, where over 1,000 arrests have been made. And apparently the cops came out with pepper balls because, well, people are shutting down roads. They're refusing to disperse. And according to one headline, several women began twerking on a police car. 2 officers were injured. Now, I have to say, like, upon reading the headline, they really do make it sound like the cops got injured from the twerking. I'm not entirely sure that's what happened, so we'll have to go into the story. But there are tons of viral videos coming out now where women in Miami during spring break are just like blocking roads, just walking on the street. They all randomly just start twerking in the street. It is a sight to behold. And this contributes to the cops coming out with pepper balls, which is a really weird story. So we got that. We're going to get into that. And cancel culture is in the news because apparently, well, look, for the longest time, the woke thought it wasn't racist to insult Asians. And now they've decided that's not true and Asians are marginalized. So all these old statements are coming back up. People are going to lose their jobs. One woman, she's like a writer for Robot Chicken, is getting just dragged across the coals. And that'll be interesting. And we got another big story. CNN is accused of staging or knowingly running staged video of a migrant border crossing. So we'll talk about this, a bunch of other stuff. We are joined tonight by comedian Chrissy Mayer.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Do you want to just briefly introduce yourself?
Oh, yes. My name's Chrissy Mayer. I am a comedian, New York based. I have a podcast called The Chrissy Mayer Podcast, which you can see on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. New episodes Tuesday through Friday. I interview comedians, porn stars, libertarians. There's something for everybody. And I have a big stand-up comedy tour coming up right now. Actually, check out my website, ChrissyMayer.com for tickets. Hopefully I can do stand-up in a city near you.
Wow, that was like the best introduction anyone's done on the show.
Wow,
People normally like, oh, I guess I do a thing or whatever. Thanks.
Wow.
We also have Ian.
Get ready for mine.
Yeah?
What's up, everybody? Hey, hi, Ian Crossan. What's up?
What's up? I just woke up.
I love you.
Yeah, all right. And
Right.
Lydia's
Yep,
pressing
me
all
in the
buttons.
corner. Yeah, I'm going to be laughing a lot tonight. I'm super excited about this show. Let's get going.
Yeah, maybe. I forgot to pull up
Oh,
the,
yeah. We're very well prepared this evening. There you go.
So before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member to get exclusive Timcast IRL segments that you can only get at timcast.com as a member. They don't appear anywhere else. So we've got really great stuff. We got Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. We had Kurt Schlichter. We had Kim Iverson, Scott Pressler. Really, really awesome. And there's just a whole library of content. I mean, we probably have, like over 100 videos maybe now at this point.
Yeah.
All of this exclusive members-only stuff. We have one with Ryan Long. We have one where Jack Murphy talks about how progressives can't be alphas because Marxism is objectively anti-masculine. And we have a good argument about it. So go to timcast.com, become a member. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, give us 5 stars because we love you and we need your support. All right, let's get into this first story because this is the greatest headline I've ever seen. All right, check this out. This is from local10.com. Wild night in Miami Beach. Women twerk on police car. 2 officers injured. So my question right away is, did the cops get hurt from the twerking?
Undoubtedly.
Right. I'm imagining cops being like, stop, come out with your legs up.
Oh,
you know?
All right, well,
Gross.
okay, so this story is actually from March 12th, but I want to read it because now it's actually getting really crazy. They say it was a wild Friday night in South Beach. There were even women who jumped on a police car to twerk. The city is swarming with spring breakers. Miami Beach officer Ernesto Rodriguez, a spokesman for the department, said 2 officers were injured while dealing with a very large crowd near 8th Street and Ocean Drive. So perhaps twerking was involved. While taking a subject into custody, officers were forced to utilize pepper balls to disperse members of the crowd who were disorderly and surrounding officers. Several subjects have been detained. 2 officers were injured and have been transported to the hospital. More police officers are enforcing the rules in the area of Ocean Drive and Collins and Washington Avenues from 5th to 16th Street, including Espanola Way. All packaged liquor sales ceased after 8 p.m. So apparently now what's going on is there's like this crazy curfew. We got this story just from today from The Guardian. More than 1,000 arrests as Miami Beach pushes spring break curfew into April. Police condemned for use of pepper balls to break up crowds. Now apparently over a couple weeks, spring break curfew in place between Thursdays and Sundays. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen all these viral videos that have come out. It's crazy out there.
A little bit of them.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, are they using salt balls as well? That way maybe they
Salt
can
balls?
season
and
the
pepper
food.
balls?
Yeah.
Salt and
yeah.
pepper.
I got it.
A lot of these are happening at restaurants.
Exactly.
A lot of
Perfect. wrecked.
Yeah, right.
Fights.
People aren't paying their bills.
Yeah, they're walking
Yeah,
out.
do you see the video? There's like a video where two guys wearing aprons just chasing a dude full
Yes.
speed down the
Yeah.
street.
And then he tries to get away. He's like, walking. Then he ducks out. He does like a ninja roll.
yeah.
And they pin him to the ground and then drag him, and then he jumps out and then he rolls. Dude, what's going on with this man?
Just don't order as many drinks, just like order what you can pay for. I don't know.
It's
shocking.
It's chaos. Like there's a video, so there's a thread going viral that's talking about how these are not people from Miami. Like Miami did really well, and I guess what some people are saying is that because Florida's basically like no COVID, tons of like no lockdown, tons of people are like, well then we have to go to Florida because you can't do it in New York or some of these blue states, so they're all coming to Florida. Red state for now, swing state, but red for now, where there's no restrictions and they're just going crazy. Like there's one video I saw where apparently there's like cars in an intersection and then a bunch of women just walking down the street all just stop. And then it's like synchronized twerking. It's like the craziest thing.
I mean, that is going to stop traffic. If you're low on like people to help you cross the street, like just send a lady twerking out there and she'll help divert traffic.
Yeah, if you've got kids coming out of school,
Yeah.
you don't need to hire a
traffic
crossing
guard.
guard anymore.
Yeah.
Just
Twerking guards.
twerking guard.
Yes.
Twerking going.
Yeah, road twerk. I love
So
it.
so
yeah.
so for real. So like why is this happening? I mean, it's just because there's too many people. They're overwhelmed, or
People have been cooped up for too long.
Yeah.
They're sick of, they haven't been twerking for like a year now.
True. That's
So-
fair.
so given the opportunity, they just break out in a twerk.
Yeah,
huh?
it seems like it's supposed to be spring break from school, but a lot of those people, I mean, is school even open? Or people were even in
Oh,
Dude,
right.
they're doing online school now, and they're just showing up and twerking in the streets.
It's like I was wondering, you'd think that New York would be the state that would be getting wrecked because they're the one that shut down, but all those people then are flooding to Florida and wrecking Florida.
There's nothing to come to New York for. What are you going to flood New York City for like a hot dog stand? Like
Are
New
the
York
hot
is
dog stands
dead.
open?
Barely. Yeah, they're
Yeah, no
like
hot
covered
dogs.
in plastic. It's a sad
Really?
sight. Yeah. It's
Are you in New York?
Yeah. Comedy clubs, some things are opening up April 2nd, so we'll see. There's some hope, but it's the city's dead. It's like somebody sucked the soul out of it.
I don't know. I saw a video from a guy who was walking down the street in a really wealthy area saying that it was totally fine.
Oh.
Oh, well, having money helps, I guess.
Yeah. I guess the poor areas that are shut down. It's interesting to see the amount of chaos you get from like totally apolitical things like spring break. When there's just enough people who don't care, they go crazy. The funny thing about it is we're probably seeing more like, I guess, anarchy than you see with actual anarchists. Isn't that the weirdest thing? And I mean like left anarchist types. I don't like calling them anarchists because the people who get violent like Antifa, they're not really anarchists, but let me rephrase that. When Antifa goes out, they fight with cops. These people are just like robbing small businesses, not paying bills, shutting down traffic. It's random, you know?
Yeah, it's totally random. They're just like, you know what? I can't twerk over Zoom. I have to
It's
go
true.
out into the street and do
spread
this.
your legs.
Yeah, man.
Your muscles.
You gotta meet that. You gotta meet that spring
Spread
break
your wings.
boyfriend like in the first couple of days, and then you have a week of hookups.
Yeah.
1,000 arrests, though.
Smart, yeah.
Check this out. The Guardian says police say they have arrested more than 1,000 people, about twice as many as last year during this spring break season. They say the curfews are necessary to maintain order, according to the local CBS affiliate. City manager Raul Aguila told the news station that he believes visitors have traveled to Miami Beach to engage in lawlessness and anything-goes party attitude. Aguila claimed many visitors are not patronizing local businesses or spending tourism dollars during their time in Florida. The Miami Herald reported that police have utilized pepper balls to disperse crowds several times this spring break season, describing the tactic as balls that are fired at the ground that emit tear gas, forcing people within a certain distance to move to avoid the eye irritant. The Miami Beach Police Chief, Richard Clements, told the paper that officers fired the projectiles because the crowd had begun to surge towards officers. This is crazy. Quote, I think officers felt threatened at the time. He said, adding that at least 5 officers have been injured during spring break this year. Video of large crowds and tear gassing by police in the city have circulated online. It's like on a scale of 1 to 3 of groups that engage in violent and dangerous riots. It's like the most egregious number 1 is like random people partying, followed by Antifa, followed by like Trump supporters. Just
Yeah.
because those are the only groups that are actually engaging this. I think I'm kidding, by the way, because Antifa literally and Black Lives Matter burned down an entire city.
But these people are getting super drunk, and that's when stuff can go haywire. Like the animal comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a Venn diagram of like people who would throw a chair like through a window, and it's like spring breakers, like Antifa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I can see the
Antifa on
overlap.
spring break. Do you think
Yes.
these people are Antifa? This is
No.
Antifa
dude.
people need to party too.
They
They
need to
to
chill.
relax.
Everybody got
Yeah.
a party.
Yeah, they got like sticks up their butt. You know,
Yeah.
they really need this. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe they're so uptight. You know, they show up to this party like thinking they're gonna party, but then just everyone's having a
Yeah.
good time, and then all of a sudden some dude throws a chair through a window. You know what I mean?
And they've been so covered up for a year. They've been like their costumes or whatever. They're not
Yeah.
costumes. They're get-ups. It's
The
like they're all
Antifa.
covered up. They're pale. They need to get out.
True.
They need their
sun.
vitamin D.
No, you
Yeah.
know, some of the most destructive riots I've seen, obviously not the most, have been just like sporting events. And then you hear this from a lot of people on the left. They'll be like, how come when, you know, people riot over their sports team winning, it's not all the criticism? Like, dude, we criticize that. It's crazy. I remember when the White Sox won the World Series, like however many years, like a decade ago. Long time ago. Longer than a decade ago. Man, this is probably like 13 years ago.
Huh.
There were crazy stories. Like, my friends were telling me that there was just tons of people in the street on the south side of Chicago, and they're all just like screaming and drunk and like shaking cars and flipping them over. And then he said like a guy was driving down Archer and then just like swerved to dodge the crowd, crashed into a pole, and then jumped out and started cheering, and then ran into the crowd, like leaving his car there. Like, people go crazy.
People get excited for their sports teams. Yeah.
They get. I guess. I have to wonder about this because, like, is that what really drives things like the Minneapolis when it got burned down? Just random people taking advantage and fluffing up the ranks. You know what I mean?
Probably taking advantage. Like these people that aren't paying their tabs, they're eating at restaurants and then jumping.
Yep.
That's big. That's big time.
What's that? Sorry, I
but-
didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm just imagine like this is all so pre-planned. You're like ordering. You're like, okay, I don't want to eat too much because when I get into a fight, like I don't want to, have acid reflux.
don't wanna be full.
I don't want to throw it up. I don't want to be full. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
puke while I'm throwing someone's head into the sidewalk. Yeah.
Physical activity after you eat a bunch of food. It's like, it doesn't feel
careful.
good. You gotta have a rest period.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
And a lot of wigs coming off. I mean, you got to be prepared. I don't know. It's giving me anxiety just thinking about it.
This is freaking me out.
Yeah. Like what to wear. And I don't know how it happens in these fights. Like the women just end up like partially nude. Like
Yeah.
the thongs are out. All of a sudden you'll turn around like they'll be fighting and then someone's
Ah.
like boobs will be out. And you'll be like, how did that? Oh,
What's
God.
happening? It's because they're dressed to
It's
party.
just crazy to hear this.
Yeah.
You know?
I wasn't expecting it, but I'm not surprised.
I
Yeah.
guess people have been locked up for so long, they've gone insane. Like, a lot of people are just going crazy.
Yeah.
So, like, you were mentioning this, but also I think when you factor in there's very few places to actually go, you get critical mass. Now they're just in Miami and they're just twerking and stealing drinks.
And when you have pent up energy, it's like the guys that want to fight are going to go out looking for a fight, and the girls that like want to fight. You know what I mean? You're going out kind of with that energy, or you're like just going to hook up. It's
The
kind
fight
of either
videos
way.
are crazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of videos. Like, there's a big viral thread. There's a lot of racist threads too, because there's a lot of just like people like sharing these specific videos, but there's a lot of different people doing a lot of crazy stuff. It's almost like a sporting event, but just no reason at all.
Right. And there's anti-cop sentiment, I imagine.
Yeah, that's a
Yes,
good point.
because
Yeah.
I've read that like the cops, like this has been building up over time. It's obviously not a COVID thing. It's like it's building up over time, and like going back to 2019, a lot of these cops I've read are afraid to basically do their jobs because they don't want to be accused of racist policing.
Yeah, so when you get like people blocking intersections and twerking and the cops get hurt, I bet there's a lot of people down there. They're probably not super political, but the Black Lives Matter narrative really does permeate everything. So we were at the mall the other day hanging out, and we went to Zoomies, and there was a poster on the wall that was just like, it was the weirdest thing for me to see in a Zoomies. It was like a poster that said, I stand with Black Lives Matter, Breonna Taylor, free healthcare, increasing the minimum wage. And I'm like, I'm in a mall skate shop. What is this? Like, why is there a poster for Black Lives Matter, Breonna Taylor? But also, like, that I could get, I suppose. But, like, the Democrat talking points were on that, too. And I'm just like, it's kind of weird to see. I don't care, whatever. You can put up whatever poster you want. I don't care. I'm going to buy shoes or something. But it's just like, when regular people who normally don't engage in this stuff are getting hit with this, I'm willing to bet there's anti-cop sentiment for sure in these spring break riots where they're just like, F the police. You know what I mean?
Why don't all of us go to Miami right now and start twerking in the street? I think that would help the
I'm down.
narrative. How'd that?
Why? I got a better idea. Why don't we get the cops to twerk with the people in the street?
That's what we
Twerk
needed.
back.
That whole time.
Solidarity.
Yeah, in solidarity. You know,
Like if it's enough twerking, maybe it'll be like a Care Bear stare, where like an energy, everyone comes together, and that's how unity happens.
Yes.
maybe like you remember when all the cops took a knee during the Black Lives
Yeah.
Matter stuff? Maybe the cops need to take a twerk,
Yes,
and they
take it
should
to
all
work.
go out there to apologize for using pepper balls on people. Take a twerk, guys.
Oh, God.
Twerk during the national anthem at a basketball game or whatever, and
It
They
would
might-
definitely dissolve tension. It would crack people up.
I'm into
freak people out.
Do you think they're going to cancel spring break next year?
How can you cancel spring break?
I don't know.
You can't cancel it. It's not really a thing. It's like people just showed up. People just went to Florida, and then there was too many people. I'll tell you what freaks me out is like, is this what people do when there's too many people? Somebody messaged us like last week about the Rat Utopia experiment.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard of this?
No.
They created the space where they put a bunch of rats in this rat house.
You mean New York City?
Yeah. So basically, they made a
Basically.
model of New York. No, I'm kidding. They took like a rat city, and they gave them an unlimited supply of food and water and whatever, and they just like went nuts. Apparently, started eating each other. Some just literally just dropped dead. So like they reproduced and reproduced, and then eventually they reached like this massive population. But there was still just free food, nothing to worry about. And then the rats apparently started breaking down, going crazy, eating each other, and just dying. And so I'm wondering, like, you get too many people, and this is what we see. Like, I was in New York when, I can't remember which New York team won the Super Bowl or something. It was back in, like, 2012, I think. I don't know. I don't know sports. You guys give me the right year. People were just, like, throwing garbage cans and trash everywhere, just flipping things over. And it was just tens of thousands of people walking through the streets, just trashing everything for no reason.
Yeah, if somebody else starts doing it, it's easier to
Yeah.
chime in, I guess. And I think part of the reason is I think people are afraid to go, like, you think about the normal spring break destinations, Cancun, maybe Ibiza. I know I'm saying it wrong. It's supposed to be Ibiza. But maybe people are afraid to travel internationally now because of health stuff. So maybe that means everyone's just going to stay domestic and then go to Florida.
Yes, which brings me up to we'll jump over to the next story on this one because this is how crazy things have gotten with COVID. So when you see what's happening in Miami in this insanity, I'm not surprised that people are doing crazy stuff because people kind of lost their minds over the past year. I'm sure most people who are listening to this can probably relate in some way to how awful the lockdowns were. I immediately got out of the city. I went to the middle of nowhere. Well, not immediately. I mean, I was in the suburbs already, so things weren't that bad. And then we went out to the middle of nowhere where things are fantastic. You ask somebody who lives in the middle of nowhere, how's the lockdown been? They'll be like, haven't noticed. Check this out. We got this from express.co.uk. Holidays overseas to be made illegal. £5,000 fine for people trying to leave Britain. If you're in Britain and you try to leave, they will fine you £5,000, which is basically like $7,000.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm glad I don't live there, but I can imagine people are going to start going crazy. Like, you know what's really crazy about the story is the UK is basically now the plot of V for Vendetta. Like, almost. Do you know what the V for Vendetta plot is?
I saw it so long ago.
Yeah, same.
So it's basically, and again, I'm explaining the plot for V for Vendetta. I am not asserting any conspiracy theories about COVID. V for Vendetta is about these like corrupt politicians and crony corporate types who manufacture a virus to use as a pretext to gain authoritarian control of the country.
Interesting.
So I'm not saying that's literally what happened in the UK. I'm saying it's making people say that because you get the pandemic, which affected everybody, and then you get the UK like they arrest people for jokes. Now, if you try to leave, £5,000.
What if
You're
you're
trapped.
just sick of the weather, you know? What if you're like,
Can't leave.
I've had it. I'm going to fix my teeth. Let me get out of
We're
here.
all in this together, Chrissy. You can't leave.
Dang.
This is the crazy thing, too, because I've been hitting up people like, I hit up Count Dankula and I hit up Carl Benjamin. I'm like, yo, when can we get you out here? Things are starting to improve over here across the pond. And they're like, if we try and leave, we'll be like arrested and fined. Good job.
Scary.
5,000. And then what happens if you don't pay the fine? I imagine they'll maybe Dankula will just take it from your bank account or they'll arrest you or something.
God, I don't know. Get a disguise?
Well, no. How are you supposed to leave? You go to the airport and they just arrest you. Check this out from the Telegraph.
Jeez.
People caught without a reasonable excuse for travel will be in breach of regulations from March 29th under new roadmap rules. You got a week.
Oh man,
You got a week to leave.
I was gonna say get out while you still can, but I don't want to push anyone.
Look at this. Oh, it's for spring break.
Wow.
Yeah, they call it Easter break. Number 10 indicated the 5,000 pound fine was designed to deter anyone thinking of going abroad for an Easter break in defiance of the ban on foreign travel. It will apply to both Britons and European citizens living in the UK amid fears that anyone going abroad for a holiday or family reunion could import new COVID variants on their return. The only exemptions to the travel ban are for work, study, moving house, or attending a major family event such as a birth, wedding, or funeral. I mean, that's kind of a lot of exceptions, to be honest.
Does it say anything about twerking?
If you just got
Actually, that is allowed.
Okay.
Yes, if they catch you in the airport twerking, they will not find you. Okay.
Right, they must be going to Miami. Let them go.
Going to Miami? All right, that's fine. They are part of the government's new regulations enacting Boris Johnson's roadmap out of lockdown and laid in Parliament on Monday. They state that no one may leave England to travel to a destination outside the United Kingdom or travel to or be present at an embarkation point for the purpose of traveling from there to a destination outside the United Kingdom without a reasonable excuse. So, like, I guess you could literally be in the airport and they could stop you, like, why are you traveling? And you're like, for fun? You're under arrest. Really is the meme about needing a license for everything, you know, in the UK. The joke is that in the UK you need a license for everything you do.
Jesus.
Man, I don't want to dump on people that are British citizens.
Do
I
it.
feel bad for
Dump
those
away.
people. Well, they're called subjects, which is crazy.
British subjects.
Like, are they citizens? Are they subjects? Are they both? What the heck? They're a subject
Yeah, that's weird.
to someone? That's so crazy.
It's
man.
really amazing to watch happen, to be honest, because we've had it pretty bad in the US with the draconian lockdown stuff. But I mean, wow. You can't even leave.
It puts it into perspective, and I read somewhere that you can't even leave your house in France without like a paper, I don't know,
Yeah.
like a note from
Yup.
your doctor. I don't know.
You need some kind of proof that you're supposed to be out of your house. And apparently, I think in Greece, you have to text the cops, or at least they were doing this. You have to text the cops and be like, yo, I'm going to leave. And they'd be like, all right, you're good. Or they'll be like, no, you can't leave. Wow. Yeah, man. That's living in high density. You know what I mean? So if you look at the weird thing about all of this, you look at Europe and it's like basically the size of the US, but with 600 million people instead of 330 million people. And then you hear about places like Greece. If you've ever been to France, it's really, really dense in the big cities, but it's just in the cities. So why is it affecting like everybody? Why is like everybody in Britain's trapped? You can't leave. I wonder too. It's like, can you go to Northern Ireland? And then if you go to Northern Ireland, can you drive into Ireland? And then once you're in Ireland, are you good? This has been one of the weirdest things about the UK. I'm sure people in the UK and in Europe probably understand better. But, you know, Northern Ireland is part of the UK. Ireland is not. So, and because of the treaty that I forgot what it's called. I don't know if it's the Good Friday Treaty or whatever. There's not supposed to be any border checkpoint between Northern Ireland and, you know, Ireland. So then how does that work for, like, the European Union and this lockdown? Could you just drive through?
and then fly out.
Yeah, and then fly out from like Dublin or something or whatever. I don't know. What other Irish cities are there?
It probably helps to just do a lot of accents. You know, you get stopped. You're like, oi, oi.
Yep.
You tried.
Attempt was made.
Hi,
Yeah. Oi?
oi.
What is that?
Oh, no. I'm going to Australia.
Oh no.
Well, it doesn't say
Yeah,
Australian
good.
citizens.
Yeah.
So at what point do people kind of like just lose their mind? Maybe they go twerk.
Yeah.
This is the other side of that coin, right? We talk about the shutting down of Miami due to the twerking pandemic. And when that's like the people saying enough and just twerking in the streets.
Yeah.
But then in the UK, it's the opposite. It's like the hardcore lockdown, maybe to stop people from,
Having too much fun.
well, I mean, just from doing anything. I don't know.
So crazy.
The crazy thing about it is the COVID's survival rate.
Yeah.
99.95 for most people, 97.5 for people over the age of 70. Yet they just shut down the entire country. You can't leave or they'll fine you. That's weird.
Almost the world. They shut down like almost the entire world over this
Yeah.
thing.
Well, I mean, I understand. I get the pandemic stuff.
so fast.
They're like, hey, there's a pandemic, so we got to restrict travel. It's like the game Plague Inc. You know, and the virus happens, like Iceland shuts down, and then you're like, how do we get in Iceland? And you can't win the game then. But this is crazy. This is them a year later shutting down their borders and not letting anyone leave.
With a 99.95%.
Yeah.
And then wasn't it like 60%, 72% of people that have contracted COVID were overweight or obese. Is that what?
78%.
78.
No, who died of it, right?
Yeah. People who
Oh,
were
that
affected
died?
Yeah.
That's crazy,
Wow.
man.
Like I would feel weird constricting travel only on obese people. That feels wrong.
How about you can go, like, obese people can travel, but only if you're going to the gym.
Oh,
Yes.
there you go.
They
Or
shut the gyms
Or
down.
if you're going on a hike and you're over a certain
You can't
weight.
Only to the
outside.
liquor
No,
store.
no. In the UK has been crazy. There was a video where somebody was out in the middle of nowhere early on in the pandemic, and they got stopped by a cop. And the cop was like, "What are you doing outside?" And they're like, "I'm in the middle of nowhere walking." And they were like, "You're under arrest." And then there was a viral photo where the cops were like, "Think you're out for a stroll in the middle of nowhere? We'll find you."
Yeah.
No joke. And people were like, "What? That's creepy, dude." Man, they're locking everybody in Britain down. This is what happens when you don't have a constitution.
Yeah, they do, right? They have one, but it's not. What is the parliamentary constitution or
It's
something?
an unwritten, interpretable, vaguely understood, quote unquote, constitution.
And the queen has all the power at the end of the day. She just chooses not to exercise it.
Yeah, she's quitting soon, isn't she?
Who's she giving power to? Who's she ceding control to?
I have no idea.
Charles, maybe? I don't know.
Prince
I think
Charles.
It's probably really good for, like, single ladies who really want to meet, like, a police officer boyfriend. So they just, like,
Yes.
go out by themselves, like, look really good, and, like, come get me.
Like in V for Vendetta.
Ah.
Like in V for Vendetta. When what's her name? Evie Hammond. It's Natalie Portman. They're called the Fingermen,
Ooh,
and they stop her in the dark
hello.
alley,
That sounds good.
and they're gonna try to abuse her.
Right.
The Fingermen. That's what they're called.
The finger
And then
men.
she's
yes.
like, "Oh no, you're a Fingerman. I didn't know." And then V shows up, and he does that speech where every word starts with the letter V. That movie's great, by the way. I'm just wondering at what point any of these people they're gonna lose their minds and do something to counter what the government's doing, because, I mean, there was a period where there was a large group of British subjects who got really angry and then wrote this big thing to the king like, "Yo, F
Yeah.
you, we're not British subjects no more."
Yep.
And we've been doing all right over here for some time. Them over there, they're not going so well.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And all this talk about, like, different countries makes me realize how little I've truly traveled in my life.
Where have you gone?
Really, just like Italy, France, Canada, briefly.
Canada doesn't
Iceland.
count.
I went to Iceland only because it was
Iceland's great.
basically on sale
Yeah.
like 10 years ago.
Oh.
Like, you'd see the ads, like, in New York City mostly
Oh,
on the subway,
yeah.
like, please come to Iceland. Like, we know you're going somewhere else, but can you just, like, stop here on the... Almost like a desperate, like, girlfriend. Like, please just come visit.
Yeah, they had just like overthrown their government and started a new one.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
2008 or
because the
something.
banking thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went in 2008.
They-
Yeah. I
no,
think
they
that's when I
had
went.
what's that airline they had? And it was-
Iceland Air?
Iceland Air?
no, was it
Yeah.
Wow Air?
Oh,
was
yeah.
it Wow?
Yeah.
And it was like, "Are you going to Spain? Take Wow Air. It stops for 3 hours in Iceland." Because then they want you to spend money at the airport.
Shout out to Iceland. I mean, they
Yeah.
actually overthrew their corrupt banking and then like seized control of their government and created a new, more democratic situation.
I don't know
That
about
seems
that
cool,
though. I
yeah.
think what people need to realize about these countries, any one of these countries, particularly Europe, is monoculture creates social enforcement for anything they want. If you've got a tribalistic, dogmatic monoculture, then one person can act as a despot because everyone just says okay to whatever the machine is. Like you see it with cancel culture. You get someone who's prominent enough to ignite or plant that seed of some new idea. And if they're prominent enough, people will just latch onto it, and then it works. And that social enforcement causes problems for
That's what
everybody.
makes me nervous about God Save the Queen, man. And I really, you guys in England, I'm not doing this. It's not personal. It just terrifies me that there's this cult of personality surrounding your liege lord. Like, it's crazy.
That's true for everywhere with kings, bro.
I know.
But people love their monarchs.
Some of them.
I mean, yeah. But like when I was in
But do you love the monarchy?
Thailand, like 7 years ago now, when they were doing the whole monarchist versus parliamentarian protests, like even the people who were for like a democratic process and with a prime minister would talk about how amazing the king was. Like he was a really good dude who helped out people and used his power properly, but it's time to move on. That was really interesting to me. There were some people who disparaged the monarchy for sure, but then they would always be like, well, but we really do like the king because he's kind of a cool guy. So like the king in Thailand would use resources to like help the poor and like teach people to read and do things like that. So everyone was kind of just like, oh, monarchy sucks, but this guy's kind of cool. But apparently nobody likes his son, so I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Thailand or anything
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
usually
been
a
really long
bad
time.
king when it falls apart. King John of England was when they forced the what was that thing they made him sign? The Magna Carta.
Yep.
Basically seized control from from the monarchy to a bunch of the dukes, and it was like the first step towards democracy.
Yeah, Magna Carta was pretty cool.
And then they had to duke it out.
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
they
they did.
literally had to.
Sure did. Etymology.
Yeah,
That's
they-
one way to put it.
Yep.
Duke it out. Is that where it comes from?
I imagine so. Yeah.
Something like that.
Put up your dukes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Huh. You're right.
Was that what it is?
It must be.
No.
It's gotta be.
Get out of here.
Maybe.
Yep. All the dukes would go to war, man.
What do you
There's
guys?
no joke.
What do you guys want to do? Do you want to talk about stupid cancel culture? Let's talk about cancel
Yeah.
culture.
I'll be back.
We'll rag on CNN in a little bit.
Yes.
But I want to talk about this thing with Harry's razors.
Oh, yeah.
For those that don't know, and I didn't know this, Harry's Razors sponsored the Daily Wire. The Examiner reports Harry's Razors cancels advertising relationship with the Daily Wire show, ostensibly over one Twitter user's complaint. Let me break down for you the stupidity of cancel culture. Michael J. Knowles, he is a podcaster, political commentary guy with the Daily Wire, a Twitter account with 2 followers. 2 followers. Just 2. Apparently it's like his mom and his brother. Tweeted at Harry's saying, you sponsor a bigot, Michael J. Knowles, and he's homophobic and transphobic. So Harry's responds saying, we're so sorry, we're going to cancel our sponsor of the show. They tweeted, thanks for bringing this up. We condemn the views in this video, which are inexcusable and at odds with our longtime support of the LGBTQ plus community. We've ended our relationship with this show and are looking into our sponsorships to prevent any values misalignment going forward. Wow. Jeremy Boring says, Harry's makes great razors. That's why we've been proud to advertise them for years. We know Harry's doesn't share our values. Who cares? Economic decisions should be political decisions. But now Harry's has decided to declare that conservatives don't deserve great razors. Why are you still calling them great razors?
I wouldn't.
Like at this point, you'd be like, well, those razors were garbage anyway. Well, okay, all right. Props to Daily Wire for not being sour grapes. But this is the crazy reality of cancel culture. An account with 2 followers tweets to a brand, and the brand just goes, all right, I have to wonder. I'm going to make a bold, I'm not going to call it an accusation because I don't want to get sued. I'm going to speculate wildly. Could it be that when it comes to these sponsor spots, these companies know they can't legally exit a contract they want to exit?
Yeah.
Except for morality clauses, right? So let's say, I sponsor Ian and the contract is like a 2-year deal where X amount of times per month, Ian will shout out, Tim's Fancy Water. And then there comes a point where I'm like, yo, we're not selling as much as we thought we were going to sell. And this ad deal seems to be a bad deal for us, but we locked in a 2-year contract with them for sponsorship. I'm only selling 1 bottle of water every time, Ian does a shout out, but it's costing me as much as 10 bottles of water's worth for the shout out. I'm losing money. Can't break the contract, right? But what if someone tweets Ian is a bigot? Now I've got a morality clause in the contract saying, oh, well,
Wow. Could basically be a bot account.
Yeah, it actually could be.
Yeah, it could be a clever
Could be
way.
from the company.
What if cancel culture? I obviously think there's a lot of cancel culture that's legitimate psychopaths tweeting stupid things and getting people fired. But I have to wonder if there's a decent amount of fake cancel culture designed to help people escape contracts they don't want to be in anymore and not fulfill their obligations to these other companies.
Yeah.
I would say it must be because you thought of it. I mean, it's not proof that it happened, but I mean, that's not doesn't sound that complicated.
Yeah, Twitter is used for so many different things. Like I remember, like Howard Stern would talk about, like they would have these sort of like, and this is so many years ago. Like basically, they'd have these extra accounts that they would use to help like get guests on the show by just tweeting at people, and it's kind of like it's controlled,
Sock
not
puppets.
opposition, but like,
It's
kind
creepy.
of manipulation. Yeah.
It's creepy, but they do it. They're called sock puppet accounts, where one person will have a bunch of accounts they control. This is different from like a bot, for instance. It'll be a real person behind every account. They'll use different pictures and different names. And so when I saw an account with 2 followers tweeting this at Harry's, I was like, how did they notice that? Like Harry's has tens of thousands of followers, and this is the one thing they tweeted about and tweeted at. I think the Daily Wire should do an investigation, figure out, maybe file a claim or something. It's hard to do, though, because Twitter, separate company, never going to give up user data. And it might just be wild speculation. But doesn't that sound just really weird, these circumstances?
Yeah, you're supposed to ignore the haters. You're supposed to, like, especially ones with so few followers.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, I will tell you this. I am shocked and appalled, and I tweeted about this, and I love people are like, I can't tell if Tim's joking or not. Harry's sponsors a bull rider, and like they made a video where they're like, we're proud to sponsor like the only African American bull rider in this field or whatever. And I'm like, so let me get this straight. They're mad at Michael J. Knowles for their perceived ideological difference for what they support. But they are taking a very, very hard stance on animal cruelty issues. I'm not saying... Actually, I'll tell you straight up. I am no fan of rodeos. I am no fan of bull riding or bullfighting especially.
It's brutal.
Bull riding isn't nearly as bad. Bullfighting is nuts. And I think that stuff should be banned. Absolutely. That's legit torturing animals. They blind them. They starve them. Oh. And that way you can actually compete with the bull because, these dudes don't have what it takes apparently. And then they're stabbing the bull. That's just brutal. Bull riding is very, very different. That's like, I don't like the idea of using a bull for entertainment in this way, but I do find it fascinating where they draw the line and what ideology they're willing to support or oppose, because animal rights and stuff is particularly left. You've got like PETA or other organizations. That's why I question about whether or not Harry's actually cares about the Daily Wire and whether Michael J. Knowles is homophobic or transphobic, and whether or not they're just trying to get out of a contract and they don't really believe it. But either way, I'll tell you this. They're a trash company. I would never use their product.
Harry's?
Yeah.
What is it exactly?
Razors, I guess. I don't
okay.
know. Yeah, look, man. There's one thing I really hate about companies, and it's not their ideology. It's more so like spinelessness. You know what I mean? Like if Harry sponsored a Black Lives Matter guy or whatever, and that was it, and then people complained about it, I'd be like, I don't care, whatever. Like I was mentioning, I went to Zoomies and they had like the Breonna Taylor thing, and I'm just like, whatever, man. It doesn't bother me, whatever. People put up whatever signs they want. Sometimes I see Trump riding a tank with like a velociraptor flying, jumping in the background or whatever, and I'm just like, I get it, It's the spinelessness. It's that Harry's shows that they can't back up what they set out to do, right? So they'll sponsor this show and then just, sorry, we're losers.
So they had to have known when they signed this deal with the Daily Wire what exactly the Daily Wire was. Ooh. There is no disguising what they're all about. And Ben Shapiro talks freely about it. He's like, that we're ideologically biased. Like, wow. What would possess them to be like, oh my gosh, someone with 2 followers tweeted at us. We're going to notice it. We're going to take action, and we're going to sever this deal with this company that. This is a big company. Daily Wire has a lot of listeners and followers, so I don't know what they were thinking with that.
No, this is crazy. Yeah. I mean, the Daily Wire is the biggest right-wing publication, I believe, on the internet.
I think so, yeah.
No joke. Like, I don't know how much money they bring in. I've heard crazy people saying not crazy, but I've heard people saying crazy numbers like 50 million a year or something, which is probably not more than, say, Fox News or whatever, but things are changing. And the Daily Wire gets something like 5 times as many engagements as the most prominent left-wing publication. So there was a report from Newswhip in 2018 that talks about partisan engagement on Facebook. The Daily Wire gets like 137 million per month. Yeah. And The Root, the biggest left-wing publication, got like 25 million.
With the wrong
yeah, so here's Harry's basically being like, we out. Burn the bridge.
Money.
We don't. Yeah. Or maybe they weren't selling razors.
Maybe not. Yeah. You might be right.
I think they got razor burned.
Yeah. Probably.
Remember when Quillette did that thing about toxic masculinity?
Yes.
No, vaguely.
Oh,
What was
yes.
it?
Gillette.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, so bad.
What was that? That was the Gillette thing?
Mm-hmm.
What was the story?
It was so bad.
So they ran a couple ads where they were talking about how horrible men were. There was one where they were showing examples of things guys do.
Yeah, pick up a kid.
Like barbecuing and be kids and play with each other. They're like,
Gillette man would never kick his wife down the stairs. I don't know. It was just like, it was overly woke.
Yeah, super woke.
But also, this is a long time. This is a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Look at this. It's like, Gillette Me Too razors ad on toxic masculinity gets praise and abuse.
Huh.
It's a bunch of guys grilling with their arms crossed.
How dare they?
Like, what? And then there was one where I guess like some kids were fighting.
Yeah,
and I'm
boys
like,
fought.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Okay.
Sure, fights are bad, but fights happen. I guess we tell people not to fight. When you train people in martial arts, you prepare them for the worst, but you tell them not to get into fights. I get it, but the weird thing about it is like. Some of the stuff in that ad was just like a guy saw a beautiful woman, was like, oh, and he like wanted to walk up to her, and then he gets stopped. Oh, I remember that.
This is crazy because it's really bad because a lot of us women like to get hit on in the street.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that meme where it's like the woman says, like catcalling is bad, and then it's a few years later she's like, men don't catcall me anymore, and now I'm upset about it.
I hate that it makes me sad or something.
Get the
Yes.
cat calls while you can, gals.
Exactly.
It's not gonna last forever.
I think
Don't
this
waste it.
is actually very deep because it's disturbing. I went through just to feel like I shouldn't approach a woman and start talking to her because I'm afraid that she'll think I'm abusing her or something.
No, you have long hair. You can get away with probably more.
Yeah, you
bat those eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bat those
You have like a
eyes.
barista look, so you're less threatening.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see
What?
it.
So
You
the
have
guy in
fun with
that the guy in that Gillette ad who had just like short hair and he looked kind of tall. That's bad. That
Oh,
guy's not
yeah.
allowed. Can't talk to women.
Can't. Nope.
What is a guy supposed to do then when and look, don't look at me, right? When you have these commercials literally being like, "Whoa, don't talk to a woman walking around." You're a woman, right?
For now.
Right. So what are men supposed to do when they're told literally don't talk to women you don't know?
It's crazy.
Tinder.
It's really frustrating.
Bumble.
I think it's making a lot of guys confused. No, I'm for talking to women, like everything, passing notes in the hall. I like it. I don't know. I mean, I have a boyfriend, but it's like, it's okay. It's okay to like express your like for someone or a crush, or I just don't like the way it's heading where guys shouldn't be afraid to talk to somebody.
Right. But it is true that if you're walking down the street and a guy says, "Nice day," he just literally harassed you and should be arrested, right?
I'd be like, by day, do you mean like my boobs or my? Yeah.
Exactly.
Clearly, you meant to say, "I know this." And have you seen that 5? Was it 5 hours or was it 10 hours of walking through New York as a woman?
Yes. Yeah.
Where like there's one clip where the guy says hello, and they show that as though that's toxic masculinity, like you can't talk to women that way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like if she gets hit on a bunch of times by gruesome dudes, then the one guy who's like, "Hey," is just it's by association. She feels like he's gruesome because she's over it.
Look, man, there's like some really weird videos. There was one video on Reddit where a guy wearing a hoodie and a mask, he's wearing a mask because it's COVID, follows this woman and she's holding her camera up filming behind her. And she turns, he follows her the whole time. And then she goes into a skate park and then she walks up to some skater dude sitting on a ledge. And she's like, "This guy's following me, help." And then she sits down. They're like, "Sit down with us. You're cool." And then she points the camera, and he's standing like 10 feet in front of all of these random people. Like, there's legit creepo dudes.
Oh yeah.
I totally get that.
Yeah, a lot of them are my fans.
Yeah.
Shout out.
So they'll
out.
follow you, and
Yeah.
Just like stand there in front of you. I love it.
yeah. But then there's like that video about the women walking through New York, and some of these things were like a guy was like, "Nice day, howdy," and that's harassment now.
That's regular stuff. Don't stop saying nice day. I don't know. I think it's still kind of trendy for certain types of women to get attention by like being victims instead of, like accomplishing stuff.
But aren't you just internalizing your misogyny
So I'm
by
told.
opposing the feminist narrative?
was it's like that GIF where like it's like the person and all the math is happening. Like
Yep.
equations.
Trying to figure out how you're a bigot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got like social anxiety as a kid. I had it, I didn't have any
Aw.
sisters or anything, so I was always kind of nervous to talk to girls. I can only imagine after this movement of like don't say hello to a girl on the street. Like if I saw that when I was 15, would have been like 10 times harder.
Yeah, but think about what that does. So the guys that don't care will still ask the women on the
Yep.
street. And
Right.
they will get dates because the women will be like, "Hi."
Yeah. And the more polite guys are kind of taking themselves out of the running.
Yep.
And then you get Miami.
Yeah. Yes. That's exactly what.
I don't know. Is the twerking the opposite where like maybe what's happening in the Miami spring break thing is that because guys are no longer asking women, the women have to twerk to get
Yeah.
attention?
Make it so obvious. Be like, look, I am literally letting out my scent.
Yes.
I am
We're like
ready to
zoo
mate.
animals
I'm ready to mate.
Yep. Let's
Can
go.
somebody please put some
Let's do
seed
it.
in there.
So because we're suppressing like
Yep.
the sexuality, it's now it's exploding out in these twerk fests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing though. Like if guys don't ask women, how do women react to this? It's almost like an inadvertent social experiment where forever we've had dudes basically court women, pitch woo. But you ever see a video of like there's this really funny video of these little birds and they're like little blackbirds and then the one bird, like the male bird's like jumping back and forth and doing this crazy dance.
Aw.
Like, and then the female bird's like looking at him like,
Is he gay?
No, it's the opposite.
Quite the opposite.
Oh, right,
Yeah, she's
right,
like,
right.
yeah.
do I want to have this dancing bird's children? Is his dance that good? Like the dude's trying his hardest. Like, come on, lady, look at me
that's
dance.
Cute.
You've seen peacocks and peahens, right?
Peacocking, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yo, look at my.
Check me out.
So, humans clearly have that where the guy's like, trying to impress the woman. Now you can't do that anymore.
Which sucks because there's so many women who love being approached still, and still don't like to be the aggressors, don't like to be the ones to make the first move. There's still, I know we're out there. I know it's like not just me.
Do exist.
But
yes.
now, so I'm wondering now if like that social norm being changed, what happens to what's the female response to it?
Just a
I
lot
don't-
of sigh,ing and then you go buy a vibrator. I don't know.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's what I do.
Maybe men are in this position where they're told, no, quite literally, look, I get it. Harassment is bad. These videos of these dudes following women and saying awful things to them.
That's creepy.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
But when they include in these videos a dude saying like, howdy, ma'am, nice day. I'm like, you can't say that to anybody. I say that to dudes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So if guys are told you can't say it to women, I don't think the legit response from women is going to be twerking in the streets. Like we are seeing mass twerking in Miami. I think it's something else. Maybe you were right about the vibrator thing or whatever, sure. But I'm just saying, I don't know if we can speculate. I'm wondering how women respond to this because men are being told socially, if you do this, you are bad. You can get canceled. You can lose your job, all the stuff. There's no restriction on women. So do women now start approaching men?
I guess, but that's not going to make these women want to approach men. Like if it's in your nature to want to be pursued, to want to be like the receiver, right, of the attention, I think you're going to be like, all right, I guess I have to do this, but you're not going to like it. You're like, I guess I have to be the one to talk to a guy. And then it's and then you're going to get beaten out over the women that are more competitive or more vocal.
But I wonder how much it's true that guys don't like women making the first move and women want guys to make the first move, and how these relationships will work with this really dramatic and rapid change in the social dynamic,
I think women will start to develop colorful feathers. Just
Probably,
put them
yeah.
out.
I can see it. Well, we've seen this a little bit where women don't like men who don't earn as much as they do, and men
Yes.
hate
Yeah.
earning
Yeah,
less than their
there's
counterparts.
Studies out that
Yeah.
especially millennial women are resentful if they make more than
And
their
they
man.
tend to, right?
Yeah.
and they get divorces.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a
Yeah,
problem.
couples where the woman makes more, they're more likely to end in divorce. And then all the feminist blogs basically say it's men's fault.
Of course it is.
I wonder if there's something there too, guys don't write about their feelings.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
They're encouraged not to or to
Right.
show them.
See, that's the patriarchy, I'm
Yeah.
told.
Well,
by the
Sounds like
feminists.
it just sucks for men.
Right?
Well, actually, think about the ramifications of this. So if men don't express their feelings, and assuming that's true, then men are less likely to write opinion pieces about their feelings.
Yep.
I don't know if that's true. Maybe it's true. If feminists, if women end up being the ones to primarily write about how they feel about things, then you will see in this static, gender-neutral format, text on paper, white, letters on the screen, a story about what is right and what is wrong. And I wonder how many people actually read the byline to see who wrote it and consider the gender of the individual. So how often do we hear about, hey, men should not approach women, and it's written by a woman, but guys, when they read it, they don't see that part. They just see catcalling is wrong, and they think catcalling is wrong. I mean, I guess if women are saying don't approach women, then you've got a problem because women don't want men to approach them. But maybe it's just the 1% of feminist women who work in these blogs that are
Yeah.
speaking for every woman, and then guys don't approach women anymore.
Because the type of woman who wants to be approached probably is not the same type that's going to be a blogger.
Yep,
You
that's
know?
fair. Yeah.
Why? Why?
I think because if you like to be if you like to be approached, you like to be whatever the
right.
prize. You're not going to be this is how I feel. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm stereotyping.
No, I see what you're saying, though. The people who throw themselves out there versus the people who want to have, attention thrown at them. Interesting. I think we may have come up with an interesting
Cracked it.
hypothesis in social
Yes.
dynamics of the modern era.
Yeah.
The women who are writing the feminist blogs are not the kind of women that want to receive attention. They're the kind of women who want to assert
Yeah. Just like
Control.
look at who's noisiest on Twitter.
Yep.
Look who does the most canceling. It's like the mouthiest people. And like we forget like Twitter is not everybody. It's just the most vocal group.
It's like 2% of people actively tweet.
Wow.
And so like 1.1% of them are left. And
Yeah.
then of that, it's like probably like, the 90% of that 1% is far left. And then there's like moderate liberal and establishment liberal types. But that's like 1% of the country is tweeting this left crazy stuff that's dominating our culture and changing the way we communicate with each other. I think you just got to go live in the middle of nowhere. That's like the solution.
Yeah.
You can just do whatever.
I wonder if you consider me an active tweeter. I'll do like one a week sometimes.
That's
No.
not
That's
active.
inactive.
But inactive tweeters don't tweet. So like
True.
in these
They follow.
in this
Yeah.
algorithm of 2% of Twitter users actually tweet. Was that what it was?
22% of Americans have a Twitter account, but only 2%, I think, actively tweet.
I wonder if I'd be considered in that 2%, even though sometimes I won't tweet more than
You might
twice
be
a week or once.
You might be if they redo this tests now. I don't think so for the purpose of this statement, because when they did it, it was monthly active users. So you might have been considered then. Now they switched to daily, so I don't think you would be considered an active user base today.
Okay.
But you probably would qualify for the sake of this, to clarify.
So and I barely tweet. So you think that if it's a very small percentage of people are considered active tweeters, the ones that are really tweeting a lot are probably like a very small percentage, because there's probably a lot of people.
Dude,
like me
there are
that
some people who
once a
tweet
week.
like 400 times a day. Blue checky feminists, bloggers, just like, it's like at a certain point, it's like, do you have an off switch? Because like I get it, I hear your
Yeah.
feelings, man, but it's like there's it's possible to
Have a diary. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was
like
gonna
a
say
journal.
to give out too much information.
Oh, that's
TMI,
for
yeah,
sure,
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what's the future that's going to be? What's your prediction on guys not talking to women? The whole
It's
social
tricky,
dynamic is
'cause
changing.
That's already been a trend, is like guys being afraid to approach women. But at the end of the day, it's like you can't fight the moonlight, right? That's what spring break is all about. Like at the end of the day, you're still gonna have like a certain percentage of guys that are like, she looks good. I'm gonna go talk to her.
I don't
You know?
think the people who are going to spring break are in this world though.
Right. They're probably not tweeting.
Yeah, they don't know anything about
Yeah.
this. They're just showing up and going like party, and then they're just like,
Yes.
It's like the weird. What's this weird group of people that we exist in? This like very active internet culture debate stuff.
Yeah.
It's called nerds.
Yeah.
Internet
Nerds.
video.
Yeah.
There are so many nerds that make
Yeah.
YouTube videos. Like,
I don't know. It's like white liberal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's what I feel like it's kind of like. You have New York. Like you live in New York, right? You do. So you don't fall in line. You don't fall into the same category as these like ultra woke progressives.
Ugh, no.
But you are in New York.
You're
you know.
around them.
Yeah, so it's like the real issue, I think, is conservatives sitting back, mocking the left, while there is a faction of people that were supposed to be on the left, now politically homeless, going at it with the woke feminists, but the woke feminist types and like critical race theorists have all the cultural power. It's like
Right.
a weird dynamic.
And there's so many people who don't say anything because they don't want to get fired. They don't want to like lose jobs, lose friends. Like we've had a year of basically like leftist culture glamorizing, break up with your Trump voting boyfriend. Stop talking to your dad or your uncle who are conservative. Like, like anybody who watches Fox is a horrible person. Like just, it's been okay to just cut off everybody in your family, friends. So I think, right, the politically homeless conservatives that don't want to get fired, I think it just sort of takes out huge chunks of people from the conversation.
Dude, these people thought that they could just join in the mob, right? That when the mob started going around with torches, screaming about bigoted, racist, whatever, some people were like, I know if I hide in the mob, I'll be safe. It's not true anymore. So there's that lady, Alexi McCammond, who you hear about her. She's a female POC. And she was going to be the editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue.
Oh, yes, I heard about this.
But 10 years ago, she tweeted some disparaging things about Asians.
When she was 17.
Well, so you're saying she was an adult.
I mean, 17's not an adult.
Nah.
She was a minor.
Adult enough, I suppose. So basically, these people thought, right. I'm kidding, by the way. She was 17. Its tweets were dumb. But she lost her job. And then the company lost a 7-figure deal. So you had a lot of people who were thinking, I will go along with what the mob says. And what the mob was saying at the time was like mocking Asians was okay. Now they're saying it's not okay. And so all these people are now starting to get canceled themselves. So this is the problem with joining the woke mob. When the rules change because there are no real rules, they will cancel you because you said racist things.
Yeah.
Your jokes, whatever.
Like you said, talked about white supremacy, and once that becomes taboo and they realize how racist it was, they're going to cancel all the people that were screaming white supremacy.
Well, I'm talking specifically about the Asian stuff, right? So we were joking on this show that I'm double white because I'm part Asian, and so I have like extra privilege, more than whatever.
More
but
than
now,
me, Tim, you can say it more than me.
More than you, Ian.
Okay.
You white male.
Fine.
But now we have this big thing about Stop Asian Hate, and now all of a sudden it's like now it's actually against the woke rules. So let me show you this thing that's going on with this writer, and then we'll just talk about what's going on with more cancel culture stuff, I guess, because why not? Ellery Smith. This is the big thing happening right now as wokeness comes home to roost. You've got this writer. She says, what is it? A witch from hell with references. Writer at Robot Chicken, producer and host. But she tweeted in 2013. Who knows how old she was? She said that she tweeted homemade pad thai, and then she said she did not put her cat into it though. And so I get the joke. I think the problem with that joke is that no one accuses Thai people of putting their cats in their food. That was a joke about stereotyping Chinese people and Chinese restaurants in America. So it's just awful writing. If she should be canceled, it's because she's confusing her tropes and her stereotypes. Just terrible. Come on.
Right. It would have made more sense. Like, I'm making Thai food. I'm not gonna put a 7-year-old boy in it. I don't know. That's a terrible idea. Don't people isn't the thing people make fun of, like, you go to Thailand to get a kid?
I don't know.
I see.
Other gross things.
Yeah.
Well, like you're a comedian. Don't you have to like research what you're talking about before you just try?
It helps.
It does
Definitely
help.
helps.
Yeah.
Like it didn't work just now. So yeah.
Yeah, you see, like, could you imagine a comedian getting up there and just like saying something that was just made no sense and no one understood?
And it wouldn't hit, and you would learn your lesson, and you would adjust. And you don't really get that with Twitter. Even if you don't get a lot of likes or retweets, like there's people who just they don't learn the lesson. Like, that wasn't funny or that wasn't clever.
Here's the problem with this woman specifically. So I normally don't like to call out the individuals by name. I try to focus on the ideas, but this is important because she tweeted on just a few days ago, about a week ago. Remember when someone had their SNL offer revoked after using an anti-Asian slur, and so many people thought it was an overreaction? Hateful language begets violence. Hateful jokes beget violence. They minimize and they dehumanize and they allow for the normalization of terror. This is the perfect example of this woman. She's a writer at Robot Chicken, mind you. Like, Robot Chicken does offensive comedy. Okay, they're fun. I'm fine. Robot Chicken's fine. But it's Seth Green's show. He's the voice of Chris on Family Guy. Family Guy is like the epitome of racism. I shouldn't say racist jokes and like stereotypical humor and stuff. It's fine. I get it. It's Family Guy. They're jokes. It's funny. What she's trying to do is duck and keep her head down in the mob. Well, now they've come for her. Now they've pointed out her own tweet. She could have just shut up and stayed uninvolved, but she decided to join the mob to protect herself, and it's only made her more vulnerable. Now here's the best part. She's responded twice, and she keeps making it worse.
Yeah. Just stop.
She says, I posted a tasteless, racist tweet when I was 17. It was disgusting and normalized the exact kind of violence I meant. Luckily, I have been able to grow in the past 8 years, so I look a lot more like the girl on the left than I do on the right. She blocked anyone from replying to this. It didn't work. People started coming after her saying, so she admits she's racist. She admits that this is who she is. Well, much like a person in quicksand, struggling and frantically trying to get out and then only sinking quicker. Actually, I don't think that's true about quicksand. That's probably just like from a movie.
You got to lay on your back if you're in quicksand.
Is quicksand even a real thing?
Yeah, I stepped in it once.
Really?
Went like up to my thigh. It was crazy.
And you couldn't get out?
I tried to pull my leg out and my shoe came off.
Yeah.
Whoa. But I wasn't very deep.
Imagine how many people like putting their junk in the quicksand. Like,
that would be awesome.
Then that would be awesome. Then you're
like,
laying down.
Now we're experimenting.
All right.
Yeah, you get a stick and put it behind you and then lay back on it if you can.
My friends, really? I would like to describe what we're about to show you as someone setting a fire in their own home, then getting called out for it, panicking, and setting another fire in their own home, and then burning their home down.
So bad.
So this writer for Robot Chicken after getting, attacked for being racist, then saying, yes, she knows she's racist, and then getting attacked even more, decided the best thing to do is to triple down on her admitted racism by saying,
Go, girl.
the things I said, the things I said in 2013 and in instances both before and after are incredibly racist and, yes, violent.
Bingo.
They contributed to an ongoing and long-standing culture of danger and hatred. They are not excusable at any age, and I am deeply sorry. Wow! Talk about, I accidentally burned my house down, and now I'm going to immolate myself. That'll help.
Yeah, don't throw me a bone. I deserve it. Goodbye, world.
She tweeted a stupid joke in 2013 that was
Teenager.
just a dumb joke. Then, 8 years later, someone calls her out, so she panics, calls herself a racist. Then when she gets called it again, she panics and calls herself a violent racist who is unworthy of any excuse. Okay, dude.
She needs to step down from her job.
She needs to
Yeah.
quit. It's the only way. All of these people must quit. They must. Now, I'm not racist. I can't be because I'm part Asian. Now,
Right.
as for the two of you, I don't know.
We are the apex.
Well, you're white. Those are the rules. I didn't make them up.
That's true.
Oh God.
And if you deny you're racist, that proves you're racist. That's actually part of the whole thing they're
Yeah,
pushing.
yeah,
I like
that's right.
talking about race as like scientifically and like what do they call it? Race.
Oh, that's racist.
Yeah. Well, it's racial, but that's different than racist.
Yes,
And there's
racial.
like racism with a small r, and then racism with the big R, where it's like you might talk about race and that's racist with the adjective, but if you're not hating on it, then you're not being like a big R racist.
No. No matter what you say, at any point, for any reason, anywhere, Ian, you're white. You're racist. Period. Done.
That's how.
That's the
You're
rules.
so good at this.
Those-
Do
He is
I
good,
get
yeah.
some kind of ginger immunity? Like, am I?
No, I think gingers are like ultra white.
Hey, whoa.
Okay.
Oh no, aren't they? Isn't there like a thing where like they're replacing gingers in movies with POC?
Are they
What?
really?
There's like
I
a
object.
Oh, no.
that was like a
No.
meme.
How
like,
much more colorful can you be?
Exactly.
Like there
Yeah.
was a meme about it where there was like 3 Disney movies or something where like they had ginger characters and then they replaced them with like
Aw.
non-white characters and people were like they're coming for the gingers or whatever.
That makes me sad.
No, I think there's something about ginger that's like they say that you're like double white or something.
Super white. Yeah, like
Super white.
My favorite kind of tuna.
You
like it's
cannot run
There you go.
off.
Oh yeah,
White,
white
yeah,
tuna.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
good. It's
Yeah.
very
Super
great.
white.
It's
It's
great.
super white.
What is it that makes it ginger? Like what? Do you know what the chemical is?
I don't know. Something about not having a soul mixes
Yeah,
in.
that's it.
Yeah, it just.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think aren't people with like red hair more responsive to radiation, but
Oh yeah,
but
you get sunburns. It's like sun is
you-
bad.
It's true.
Oh yeah,
Technically
you
correct,
can't
yeah.
tan.
but like
But you can
less
see in the dark.
Right, and you're crazy. So that
Yes.
helps.
So
you
I'm
go.
told.
I'll try
Yeah.
my luck.
People with
very
blue
sure.
eyes can see better in the dark than people with brown eyes.
Really?
I can
Yeah.
see really good in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you have blue
Interesting.
eyes?
yeah.
Oh.
And I was in Dallas when all the blackouts happened because I was performing at a club out there, and I just got really used to walking around the hotel in the dark. I was like, "This is great. I know where I'm going."
That's crazy. No.
So
soul.
what can we do to encourage all of these woke people to quit their jobs? Just quit. Just get out. You
I
know.
think they're
That
just
seems
gonna
to be
do it to
working.
themselves.
Yeah.
They can quit faster. You know what I mean?
They could, yeah.
They could hire a person of color to replace them. That would be, I think, the noble
Yes.
thing to do.
That's the way.
Yeah,
to
they
do it.
never do that though.
They really don't.
Yeah.
They talk a big game, but then when it comes time to like actually replace them with someone who would represent what they claimed before,
Yeah.
radio silence, just crickets. And I say,
I'm gonna take the alternate route and say I don't want them to quit because it's like, do you want to heal the organ or cut the organ out? And often cutting the organ out is a drastic.
What if the
thing.
organ is woke, though?
I mean, yeah,
Massage the organ. You know,
I
get
have
the
a
blood
woke
flowing.
liver.
it's like gangrenous. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
My,
know.
my,
A woke
my,
liver, every time you drink it goes, "Ugh."
I don't know. I think
bad
drinking's
idea.
okay, unless you're drinking the wrong kind of drink. Like,
Oh, right.
if you're white and you drink tequila, that's like your liver
love
gets mad.
tequila.
Like, whoa, that's
Oh,
cultural
really?
appropriation.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
if you
good
have
to
a
know.
woke stomach and you eat like veal, it's like, ugh, really?
Yes.
No, I don't know. We talked about this with Harry's. Do the woke really care about animal rights? I don't think so.
God, who knows
don't
what
care
they,
about-
they just care about, like whatever's in the moment, whatever serves them in the moment.
I don't think they care about anything. I mean, like,
Yeah.
this woman who is accusing herself of being a violent racist is probably one of the funniest, like cell phones I have ever seen. It's like, dude, lady, just shut up. Oh my
Setting
God,
yourself
calm
on fire.
down.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't do anything. Nobody cares. You got people tweeting at you. It's like 30 people. So what? And she just keeps making it worse.
Yeah, it's always the people that say, "Oh, words are violence." It's like, you've never been in a fight, have
Right,
you?
exactly.
Like, that words are words.
No.
why
That's
they're-
exactly why they think it.
Right.
Think about it. Like, have you ever been in a physical fight?
Yes.
All right, so you understand what violence is.
Yeah.
If you've never been in a fight, the worst pain you've ever felt is when someone called you like a doo-doo head. So here's this Ellery woman, you know, and she's probably growing up in some like affluent, you know, New York suburb or whatever. Gets a job, well, I don't know, probably California, writing for Robot Chicken. And so now the worst thing she's ever experienced was when, you know, a girl at her high school called her fugly. And then all of a sudden she was like, and like hyperventilating, like, this pain, what am I feeling? I was called a name. And then she's like, wow, is that how other people feel when they're insulted? Some people, yeah. So that's why she's like, it's violence to say that. Meanwhile, if you've ever been punched in the face, you're like, I don't care what you call me, just don't punch me in the face.
You know what's really bothering me is her twisted humor is basically what got her the job with Robot Chicken, no doubt. Like that was, it's run by the dude from Family Guy, who's one of the most, it's one of the most racist comedy shows on the TV.
I don't think I would say stereotypical humor.
Yeah, like
because
racial humor.
Their intent isn't to be like, they're not intending to be racist.
It's not to harm, yes. It's to make fun of everybody. And they're like all the races.
No, not anymore.
Oh, well,
they
why
announced
not?
they wouldn't make fun of gay people anymore.
Oh.
So like they've clearly decided some things are off limits, which is really interesting, because then what about making fun of Jewish people is okay to the writers of Family Guy? You know what I mean? Like when they were saying we'll make fun of everybody, I'm like, I get it. We make fun of everybody. Dave Chappelle does it. Joe Rogan, Ricky Gervais. We poke fun at everybody because, you know, we want to show we're all on equal footing. We're all worthy of criticism. When Family Guy says, nah, not some groups, we're like, so you think it's okay to mock some groups of people, not others? Now you're getting into creepy territory, because now I'm kind of like, what do you?
It makes it worse.
How do you actually feel? Because look, you know, I brought this up in a segment I did earlier today. There's this there's this voice actress named Tara Strong, I think that's her name, and she does like Harley Quinn from Batman. She's like Timmy Turner. She's also done voices for Family Guy, and she did this one really racist Asian stereotype making fun of female like Asian women. And I'm like, this is a woman who on Twitter screams all day and night about like Trump being bad and bigotry and all this stuff. Meanwhile, she's done a ton of really offensive racist stuff. Like she was also on Drawn Together, super racist stuff. And I'm like, yo, lady, like I don't care if you voice these characters, you want to make jokes. But then how are you going to go on Twitter and act like that's wrong when you literally do it?
Well, that was her job, you know.
It was okay. No, but here's the point. It was okay back then. Making fun of these people was okay back then. Well, that's all changing now. All right, so let's cancel Family Guy. Let's cancel, you know, Drawn Together was already canceled, but we'll get that off. We'll get it all off the air. Robot Chicken, you're gone. What else is
Park.
getting purged? South Park. Oof. Oh man,
Yeah,
South Park's gotta go.
Jemima.
Yeah, definitely.
The
Everything's
Simpsons? Think they'll
No,
tear down
but
The Simpsons?
think about it, right? So I'm joking when I say this, but they're probably hoping that's the result. Like the woke want to get rid of all this stuff. They want to just like destroy culture and have like this, you know, revolution. So they're probably super excited at the idea of Family Guy getting canceled,
You know,
because they done a bunch of racist jokes.
I get that it's not
Stereotypical jokes.
like making people the butt of your joke. It's not it's not my favorite kind of humor. Like it's easy to tear someone down and get a laugh by everyone else, but and like it's more challenging to make everyone laugh with just some, you know, idiosyncrasy you notice about reality. That's my favorite kind of humor.
I think
I see why they don't want it anymore, but canceling this, just canceling it outright seems so ridiculous.
So misplaced, because like in a comedy club, like you could totally roast a guy. If you're a comic, you can roast anybody at the show, and it would crush, and it would be great. And then you leave, oh, what a great show. Called the guy gay in the front row with a pink shirt. Everybody would laugh. It's like there's just easy things, and it's kind of just like these feelings are misplaced now because it's all in our pocket, and people who aren't seeking out comedy, who aren't funny, who have no sense of humor, it's like, well, now I'm looking at it and I can give my opinion right away, and I feel like I have the power to destroy this thing or this person. It's almost like people who, you know, don't have a great sense of humor are being exposed to comedy, and they just like don't know what to do with it.
They're weirdo robot people.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Ryan Long who told us this, but it might have been. But you can tell me what your thoughts are having done comedy. I think it was Ryan, but I'm not sure, so I don't want to put words in his mouth. But we were being told that when you're doing comedy and you're ribbing on like some group of people, not like based on race, but like if you're talking about motorcycle riders, there will be like, you know, some people in the corner be like, oh, like make fun of us.
Yeah,
like,
people like it. That you're kidding yourself. You're lying to yourself if you haven't laughed at a racial joke. Even the most woke people, like right now, are in a room somewhere like, making fun of white people. White people do this. It's like we've all laughed at another group, and we wouldn't laugh if it wasn't kind of true.
Well, humans, I was reading about stereotypes in comedy, and they were saying that humans recognize patterns, but patterns aren't always correct. And one of the things that kind of makes it funny is recognizing what seems to be a pattern that's not necessarily correct, right? So we have this card game called Right or Racist. All right, so Cassandra got it for me for my birthday, and it's an okay game. I'm not going to say it's the best game in the world. I think it's fun. And shout out to the people who made the game, hit me up because we showed it before. But it's good in that it asks you a question or makes a statement, and they have to determine if that statement is true or if it is a stereotype. And what makes the game funny is when sometimes the stereotypes are true, and so it asks you a question, and it'll be like, I won't give an actual question from the game because YouTube will ban me. But some of them are intense. Some of them are intense.
I'll be like, dude, that is so racist.
Well, but
You're like, it's true.
Yeah.
What? That's right.
Whoa. But here's the point of the game. It's like it'll say something about women, and then who's going to be brave enough to assert that it's true? Like, because then when it's not true, it's like, you're racist or whatever. Or well, I guess stereotypical because women, you're not racist against women. But that's what's funny about it is that it'll say like, a study found that X% of people from India do this one thing. And then everyone's kind of like, I feel like that's true, but is that racist?
I know you feel so racist when you say true. Sometimes.
And then, but what happens is people are like, I don't want to sound racist, so I'm going to say it's not true. And then you flip it over, and it's like it is true, and you're like, oh, jeez.
Like I have been in a lot of smelly cabs. Oh God, what am I going to say?
Yeah, but there is a question about cab drivers in New York and their ethnicity, the national origin, and then it asks you if it's true. I do think there are some issues with question formatting because I think, it could have been done better, but it's a really good idea for a game that is really funny when people are forced to, like, you lay down a card and the card says it's right. So everyone gets to see you saying that stereotype is true. But the point I'm making is what's funny about that game is what's funny about the jokes on Family Guy, right? So there was a joke they made where, like, I'm allowed to say this joke, by the way, because I'm part Asian. Okay, you guys can't say these jokes. You're not allowed. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And it's Alex Borstein, who is the voice of Lois, and they say something like, "That's worse than an Asian woman driving or something, or trying to perform a lane change." I don't know what it is, but she's driving and she's like, "How much turn signal do I need to change 8 lanes? 0? Okay, I'll turn now. Good luck, everybody else." And then she just drives across the highway and everyone crashes and all the cars are exploding. Okay, clearly that's not a real thing, but they're making a stereotypical joke about, Asian women being bad drivers, which I don't know if there's any data to back that up, but it's a joke. That's it. I've never looked at these jokes. Like when I watched, I used to be, I would say, well, I'll put it this way. I used to be a fan of a lot more celebrities until I saw them tweet.
Yep.
Right. But when I saw the joke from Family Guy where they make fun of Asian women, they basically make fun of Asian women for having small tits. And it's Tara Strong who's doing it, and she's like, very hardcore TDS. I'd never cared.
Tit derangement syndrome?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yes.
Well, no, but like, when they're on Twitter and they're like, I'm so woke and we're all the best, most noble people, and I'm like, dude, the conservatives aren't the ones in Hollywood making these racist jokes all day. It's you guys. That's the problem, is the double standard, the hypocrisy. I never had a problem with jokes about Asian people, I guess. And then when I say that, the woke people are like, well, it's because you're white. And I'm like, well, I never have a problem with jokes about white people either. It's the hypocrisy. You're like, racist jokes are wrong, but white people, I'm like, no, you don't get to do that.
The only wrong joke is the joke that no one laughs at.
There you go.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. Maybe they're just not funny people.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. For 6 years, I hosted a show at the Stonewall Inn, and it was a great show. But I was noticing, like, I'm not getting, like, a ton of, I don't know, like, fans coming to my other shows, or like I'm not getting a lot of followers. And then as I grew older, my sense of humor developed, and
you realized it was because you were a woman and men are bad people.
Yeah. And I was like, what is this? Am I not? I realized I wasn't a bisexual. I just was fun at parties. So and then I eventually, like, got older, my sense of changed. I like realized I was libertarian, and then I like got a show on Compound Media, and I'm like, oh wow, and like these people love comedy. They're showing up to shows. They're following me. They buy our merch. It's like, oh, these people just like comedy. So
I was reading this article about a woman who became a comic and then quit because she was like, men didn't laugh at my jokes because they're bigots. I'm like, no, like legit. And I'm like,
funny.
yeah, you're just not funny, dude. You know, that's the weird thing. Did you ever see that thing? There was a woman who dressed up like a man. Did you ever see that? She was doing stand up, and she thought the reason guys wouldn't laugh.
Oh yes.
She thought the reason people didn't laugh at her jokes because she was a woman. So she dressed up like a guy and then did the set, and nobody laughed. And then her boyfriend was like, she left crying, and she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he's like, I'm sorry, babe. And it's like, maybe you're just not funny.
Was that Bonnie McFarlane and Rich Voss? Yeah, I know those guys.
Was that real? Was that
I
legit?
think it was. It might have been part of a documentary. I think
Yeah.
like women aren't funny or women are
Women
funny.
aren't funny.
It wasn't a good example. It's at least like, try that with a more like a manlier set. But yeah.
Did you? Who was it? Was it Richard Dawkins who said women aren't funny?
A lot of people say it.
Yeah, understand.
It may have been Dawkins, and I could be wrong, but he was saying like women aren't funny because they don't need to be funny.
It's true.
Men.
What have I been wasting all this time?
I know, right?
Well,
what are you doing?
What he was saying is that like from a biological standpoint, men are trying to attract women by asserting dominance, by entertaining, and women don't have to do that, so they didn't need to be funny.
True. It's like they're like peacocking.
Yeah, it's true.
I noticed with physical comedy, it helps if you have short hair or like nothing like distracting from the face when you move. Because if you turn your head real fast and this is like flopping, it distracts everybody. But if it's just one flashy movement, then you can like snap, get people. Like Jim Carrey was so good because his hair was always like static, like it's one. So maybe that's women with long hair is distracting the audience.
There's a lot that you have to figure out when you're like a girl doing comedy. Because I had a point where I was showing more cleavage on stage. I was wearing tighter dresses,
Right,
and
just
I
to
remember
see what would work.
I would get advice from people being like, you should really wear like a jacket and pants and like like legends of comedy. Like this one woman, Gladys, like a lot of people look up to her for comedy advice, and she's like, you need to wear like a jacket with shoulders and pants. And I was like, are you talking about Ellen in the 90s? That's how I have to dress. I just couldn't do it because I just didn't want to. I wanted to be myself on stage, but I would realize like you look at the crowd and you're like, you see people getting distracted. You see somebody like looking at your tits. Like you see a woman being like, oh, is my guy like laughing too hard at her? You're like, okay, these are distractions that I can limit without like tossing away who I am as a person.
I like that.
What do you guys think about stereotypes going forward? You think
I think
they're
we
gonna
should
last?
keep them.
You think
yeah.
so?
You know what I think about women in comedy is that I wonder if women are trying too much to be like men, and so they model their comedy off of a guy's style instead of finding their own style. I was thinking this because I saw Nikki Glaser. That's her name, right? Mm-hmm. She's hilarious.
I love her.
When she roasted, I think she roasted Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was some of the best comedy
She's good.
ever seen. But the way her demeanor was very feminine, was very stereotypically like woman. And it was an interesting way. She was like, she almost like the way she talked was not like a guy. It was like a woman. And I'm like, man, I started thinking about it. I'm like, maybe that's one factor, perhaps, that there will be a lot of women who try to they try to deliver their humor in the same way they saw a guy do it, not realizing that socially it doesn't necessarily make sense the same way when a guy would say it.
Absolutely. Like I'll see a lot of women comics, and they'll either do that thing you're mentioning, Tim, like, well, they'll try to deliver or do jokes, like edgy jokes, like they think a guy would. Oh, because these guys get successful this way, and I want to be successful, so let me follow that model. And then you have other like girl comics starting out, and you're like, well, I have to be like Amy Schumer, I have to be like Whitney Cummings, I have to be super left. And I was that way when I started, just because that all my friends were liberals. Like I was a liberal coming out of college, so I just was like, all right, this is what I have to do, like lean into the feminism stuff, talk about how much men suck. And so I think you feel pressure starting out to either go that way, and the ones that break ahead of the pack and become successful are the ones that like are true to their selves and they're true to their voice, because an audience can tell when you're like not comfortable in your own skin.
Right. And the thing about Amy Schumer is that she makes disgusting jokes that are like not really jokes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and she's
She's
not even
like-
doing stand-up anymore. I mean, she's just selling mayo.
Thank God. she's
Really?
not doing
She
stand-up.
was in a mayo commercial
Yeah.
in the Super Bowl.
Hey, well, good for her. She made money, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's doing what
She
she
has
loves.
like her kind of humor was basically just like talking about her junk.
Right. Like to be graphic for the sake of being graphic, you know? Like
Yeah.
again, like if it's funny, people will laugh. But right, that maybe was like, okay, maybe she's forcing.
But I think that's another case of women trying to take men's comedy and be like, I'm going to do it this way because this works for guys. I'm going to be dirty and gross and raunchy and talk about stuff that no one wants to hear about. My goodness.
I
And
don't
then
know,
it'll
well-
work for me.
When Nikki Glaser was roasting Alec Baldwin, she was gross. What did she say? Like, we'll keep this one family friendly, but she said that Alec Baldwin's reproductive fluid must be like oatmeal at this point.
That's different.
But like
Reproductive
Mocking
fluid.
him.
Did she talk about his bald twins?
Reproductive fluid? You mean alcohol?
Yes.
reproductive
Yes.
fluid.
That's what you
Just
need.
for the people who have families out there who you know for whatever reason have their kids listening. Hey, we do all right with the family
Whiskey?
friendly stuff.
We try.
But it was like it was her delivery. It was her attitude.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
the way she was explaining it. It was like I believed she was genuine, like you were
Yeah,
saying.
like a sassy broad instead of like trying to be like one of the guys.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's a good point.
That reminds me of another Family Guy joke where he's like, you know, they're like, that's almost as bad, or whatever the callback thing is, as like that one woman hanging out with the guys trying to prove that she's a sports fan.
Oh yeah.
And it's like guys just sitting there with their eyes half closed, like drinking beer. And there's the woman going like, I like sports. Sports are awesome. Aren't sports great? Football. Yeah, you guys like sports. And it's like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Like, you like sports. That's just not how people act, you know?
Well, because like women, you have the tendency to like people please and like you pick up what other people like. So you're like, ooh, I want to like what they like so that they like me. And then you grow
Right.
up and you realize like, oh, just do you and have your tits out and guys will like you.
It'll be great. Yeah.
You'll be
It works.
fine. Get a
And then you
push-up
could
bra.
just stand there, not tell jokes, and then guys will eventually start giving you money. You
Yeah,
know what?
great.
Maybe actually there could be a place specifically for women
Yeah.
who have mastered this, you know, speechless form of entertainment where they're
tracking.
showing their bodies.
Right.
We could put like, you know, to make it so easier for them to move around, we could put a pole on the stage.
Yeah.
Some sort of
Okay.
club.
So everyone
Some
can
sort of
see
club.
them equally,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
so that
And
your
then
view of the woman is not
Yeah,
ruined.
yeah. And the guys just give the women the women the money directly,
Yeah.
like
It's like
throwing the
quick,
money on the
easy.
stage.
Yeah,
Tax-
just straight to
tax.
them. No middleman. Take
Yeah,
take out
it's
the
easy.
middleman.
It's
Yeah,
way easier.
taxes.
Love it.
That's pretty.
You
That's,
could maybe
Truly
just put it-
libertarian.
Put it like on an item of their clothing.
That
Make
is-
sure
Yeah,
they
just
don't
like
lose
fold it
it
in there. Yeah.
No, I think that is kind of sad for like I shouldn't say sad, but that is a factor for women in entertainment because I remember there's this YouTube channel where this woman plays guitar. She plays acoustic guitar and she sings.
Oh yeah.
Millions of views. And so this was years ago. I was looking at, got recommended this video and I'm like, oh, it's a really great, rendition of like, I don't know, Eleanor Rigby or something. And then I noticed like early videos from her had no views at all. Just like very little, a couple hundred. And then all of a sudden one day, boom, hundreds of thousands, 500,000, then million. She plays acoustic guitar and one thing changed from that video with no views to the video with hundreds of thousands. And you know what it was?
Implants.
cleavage.
Cleavage.
Aha.
Yeah, you went a little
Little too far
overboard
there.
on
Yeah,
that
well.
one. Not that far. No, she just started wearing low-cut tops, and then her boobs were on top of the guitar when she played, right front and center.
That's
And all of a sudden, it was like, boom, views
Wow.
skyrocketed.
Why do you
She
think
got
I'm wearing
rich.
this top, Tim? I'm trying to get your
Perfect.
views
Yes,
up.
gotta get those
Trying to
views
get my
first.
views. It's
appreciated.
working. It's working.
It's working.
Tune in.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that how do you how do you feel about that? Because I know it's probably a bunch of
Yes.
feminists who are screaming.
Tits sell everything.
It's true. 100%.
People are motivated by tits. You know, like people work harder because of tits.
It's magical.
People build things because of tits.
That's right. Civilization.
Even as a guy,
Yeah.
I would notice it when I made videos shirtless. They'd get way more views.
Oh, this is
Yes.
I love this one. I love this. It was like OkCupid when they used to put out the data sets. They don't anymore because they'll get canceled if they do. But it was like you have all these women that this is also an interesting factor in the social aspect of how all this stuff works. So we're talking about how women respond in terms of social norms and stuff. All of these women on OkCupid were putting things in their profile like, if you're a guy and you're not wearing a shirt in your picture, don't bother messaging me. And then OkCupid put out this data and they're like, actually, they say that, but they're substantially more likely to
Right.
respond to a guy not wearing a shirt. They were like, the women who put in their profiles, don't bother messaging if you're not wearing a shirt, are more likely to respond to a guy who has a photo with no shirt on.
Unless, like, I'm not going to ask for it outright, but like, if you can sell it, I'll be on your profile.
That's so crazy though. So why would these women put that on their profile if they didn't mean it?
Because they're not trying to. They're trying to sound more cerebral. They're trying to sound like they don't care about looks and your body, and you're like, oh, I just lie. I just want a nice guy. No, we effing don't.
I wonder though. So I heard once that women don't wear makeup and dress up for guys. They do it for other women.
So I've heard that too, but like,
true?
I don't dress up for sleepovers. Like, I don't dress up and like have my boobs out to go like shopping with a girlfriend. Like, if I was gonna hang out with Lydia all day, I wouldn't like be wearing a push-up bra. Yeah.
Huh. But like, what about single women? They probably would. So it's probably trying to attract guys, I guess.
Yeah, I think when you're single, you always try to, because like I always remember my mom would tell me when I was single, she'd be like, you never know, you know, like you just dress up if you're going to the deli, like, you know, who knows, you might get a half a pound of turkey and a salami if you're good.
You
know?
Yeah.
It's a strategy.
That's actually, I think, a pickup artist thing though. They say don't pick up women in bars. You pick up women at the deli.
For sure.
Because then you find like a regular woman who's just doing normal things. Whereas like the bar is going to be people looking for a good time, not necessarily looking for a legitimate relationship.
True.
And the laundromat, that's something they say too. Go to the laundromat.
Yeah.
Or like a church
Post
or
office.
something.
Yeah, church
library.
for sure. Yeah. If you want to get an arranged marriage for your daughter.
Dog parks.
Church,
Dog parks.
Dog park, yeah.
No, but not to disparage church, people probably got mad at. But you're not going to find you're going to find regular people doing regular stuff, going about regular things.
So
Maybe
really
the deli thing was good advice.
Yeah. Comedy shows good too. Like if you like to laugh, and you like girls who like to laugh. Yeah.
How would you say like the wokeness has affected the comedy scene?
It's been really interesting. Like, it's always kind of been an irritant over the last few years, but the last year and the lockdowns it's been really fascinating because the woke, like, liberally comics, they'll perform mostly, it would be New York and it would be LA, and everything in between is a flyover state that doesn't deserve our time, our energy, our effort. Like, they're all just dumb Americans, right?
So that's where you let out the real racist humor, just totally go at it.
Right. So like woke comics just perform in New York and LA usually because everything else is not worth their time. And so what have we seen happen? Like, the woke cities are staying closed the longest. And all the while, the woke comics have not developed their chops performing in the rest of the country. So guess what? Like, the non-woke comics have been crushing it over the last year. Like, me and all my buddies at Compound Media, like, we talk about this all the time. Like, we're having a great year. Like, we're getting more work because we're performing all over the country, and we haven't ruled out, any particular state or city. And we're developing our fan bases, and now it used to be way back when, like, the woke comics kind of had an edge because they would be more likely to booked for like Colbert or Fallon, or they'd get a Comedy Central special. And now it seems like your following has replaced, in a sense, like your credits. So if you have a big enough following through like your podcast or whatever, and you can fill a room or a venue, that club is going to be like, yeah, we want you, instead of you have this, you have a Letterman credit or you have a Fallon credit from years ago, but nobody's...
You're not going to make me any money.
Yeah, you have no Twitter engagement. You have no following. Like, people don't really care about you, in a sense. So... Who
are some of the people at Compound Media?
Oh, Aaron Berg is really great. Gino Bisconti is really great. Pat Dixon's a comedian that performs there too. Don Jameson, Jim Florentine was just on. We had comedians at the Compound out of New Jersey at Tiff's Ale House this past Friday. It was so great. It's just and Compound Media is a subscriber base, so it's kind of nice. There's no like fear of cancellation because everybody who subscribes like loves comedy, and nobody's out to do like a gotcha.
What is Compound Media? Is it like a multi-channel network?
I understand you're in need of support.
It's Anthony Cumia's network. So if you heard of like Opie and Anthony from Sirius, so it's Anthony Cumia's network. He started it like maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Look how far
just a place to have his own show, and then he was co-hosting with Dave Landau for a while, and then Dave just left to do Crowder's show.
Oh wow.
But I mean, Anthony is not a stand-up comic, but he is funnier than so many comics I know. You got me really optimistic right now. Yes. Let's think about some of these factors, right?
Love it.
The anti-woke comics are doing great. I mean, Ryan Long, for instance, Tim Dillon, Andrew Schultz, they're just skyrocketing. You've got these other writers, you know, like this Ellery woman, canceling themselves, publicly declaring that they themselves are violent racists. Wow, that's going to help you get work in the future. Congratulations. Then you have the hubs of wokeism shut down where they can't even work anyway. So it sounds like the good guys are winning. The people who enjoy humor and understand context and are not part of the cult are succeeding, gaining followers, making money. And the wokeness is eating itself and burning to the ground.
For sure. And the audiences that have come out to see me in like the last year, it's like they're appreciative. They want to be entertained. They want to laugh. It's like they don't care. It's like it's almost like the racial jokes are doing even better, and like
it's freeing.
It's so freeing. Like we were in New Jersey on Friday, and I just was like just saying a lot of wrong stuff. It's getting huge laughs. Just telling people they look like Proud Boys, like things that you don't think will hit. We're crushing.
That's great.
Rogan mentioned this quite a bit, that like comedians are the last bastion of sanity in like any kind of culture war. And even like historically, even if the world were to fall apart and then reformulate as like a giant monarchy, the monarch still has a jester that will make fun of him and say the most the most offensive stuff directly to the king, because he needs humor. Like humor is part of why we're saying
it's a pressure release valve.
Yep.
We all get anxious. We're getting like scared. We're getting angry. And then someone cracks a joke and it like releases the pressure valve, and we all kind of just chill a little bit. Laughter, it feels good. You know, it pulls you back from that despair.
And not just jokes, but just saying true statements, like saying the things that everybody is thinking. Because it's like, look at our news. It's been lying to us for how long now? Our influencers lie to us. Our celebrities lie to us. So when you get somebody with a little bit of truth, you're like, oh, I'm not crazy.
Right.
I'm not alone.
It's kind of like George Carlin. You know, there came a point in his career where he literally was not making jokes. And that was some of the best stuff he ever did, where it's just like he gets on stage and he rants about how messed up everything is and everyone's laughing. And I'm like, it's kind of sad that we're all laughing at how awful everything is. But what was happening was George Carlin saying something that we all knew to be true, but many were scared to say. And all of a sudden now they feel relief. Like what I know to be true is true.
I think that's why comedians make excellent podcast hosts, because when you're performing on stage, you're performing, but when you're on the podcast, you're just able to speak the truth, and it's like that's already your job anyway. It just doesn't have to be, you don't have to perform it.
And if you say something overtly racist and bigoted, you can just be like, oh, I'm just a comedian. It's not real. I didn't really mean those things about those people. You know, you get away
as long as it's not in text. Once it goes into text, like if Dave Chappelle had written all that stuff on Twitter, all those jokes, he'd be canceled right now.
Right.
Dude, the things Dave Chappelle said in that stand-up special on Netflix were brutal.
Spicy.
Yeah, like he literally squinted his eyes and did the buck teeth thing. Good. And I was like, I don't know to what degree I'm allowed to be offended or like allowed to like defend, I guess, because you know how the rules work. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
That man's amazing.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, like more power to Dave Chappelle. He's made fun of